Hey guys, welcome. I know I put in my community board that I was going to go over a Twitter account that I found that spoke of JonBenét. Needless to say, I found her Twitter name on here, Human Vibration, interesting, so I clicked on it. She talks about all kinds of different things, MK Ultra's one, and a variety of things. And this is the post, okay? And I just had clicked it and I started reading. And scorched it had to be done, not to erase but to reveal. The thread generated an absolute firestorm of activity, ignited by the death of JonBenét. A most flammable tinder, a most unsolvable murder, a most insidious louche. Everything we seem to know about JBR is an illusion. And I thought, okay, so let's keep going. And then she gives the definition of louche. And so originally I clicked here because I saw, oh, well, there's 135 replies, but it just kind of continues just to go all the way down. But I'll click so you can see what I meant. So I click on it. Interesting that others have read it. Okay, so let's see here. It wasn't about JonBenét. It was about the death of JonBenét. And if everyone's heard about this story and been perplexed on exactly what happened, unless you live under a rock, you've never heard of the story. Moving on. And innocently slaughtered. On Christmas, no less. What could be more horrific, more all-consuming, more louching than a child beauty queen's lifeless little body being found in the basement by, nonetheless, her father? So I just clicked on it, and it was just this, the death of JonBenét Ramsey. Okay. And I'll continue how I did it, so you guys can see. Okay, we read that. This case captivated an entire nation, an entire world, seemingly, from the moment Pat Ramsey dialed 911 right up until the very day. And continuing on to this day. This is where she, drew me in. Because I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I mean, this I had never considered. And in just my own opinion, I don't necessarily believe this. But it's interesting. And just because I don't believe something doesn't mean I'm not interested. JonBenét wasn't a sacrifice at all. She was a spell cast over all of us. A composite of purity and light developed and deployed in the dark. Every detail of this case seems to invoke pain, suffering, disgust, our most powerful, draining, negative emotions. This is by design. I was like, wow, okay. So I kept going. Here we go. Did you know there is no record of JonBenét's body ever being received by the Boulder County Coroner's Office? I didn't know that. That's right, she says. 2 logbook pages recording the arrival of JonBenét Ramsey at the morgue went missing. Stolen, gone, as if they never existed. I'm like, what? You know, I mean, the depths that she's done on the research is impeccable. An artist, so this came out of an article out of Colorado, an artist who admitted stealing a logbook page that recorded the arrival of JonBenét Ramsey's body at the morgue was accused Thursday of trying to burn down the Ramsey home. Now, if he admitted to stealing this book, was he paid off? I mean, it makes no sense. Why would he steal that book? How regular is that people steal these books? Probably not a common theme, I would imagine. And then he tries to burn the Ramseys' home? Huh? I don't know. Smells funny to me. Remember this in 1996. There are no digital admittance forms at the Boulder Coroner's Office. 6 months after JBR's death, a man who called himself J.T. Colfax turned himself into the police. We already went over this. Okay. So this is the guy that supposedly stole the book, okay? And tried to burn down the home. An odd, never reported twist. Right? More to come, she says. Okay, so this is where I got to, and I was like, okay, huh? And I even commented, she had put a link, and I don't know if I'll come across the link, because I'm trying not to make this video 5 hours, but to everyone asking what happened to the original thread, deleted. I don't know if it was deleted by her or Twitter. First, I needed you to walk the same path that I obsessively, earnestly followed for years. Decades, really, to see what I saw, discover what I discovered, connect what I connected. Now we're ready to see. I'm going to click here. Let's see if... Okay, it's just the tweet goes straight down, but this is what she is saying. This person does not exist. Neither does this, neither does this. Okay, she's lost me a little bit here. Every one of these faces are AI-generated fakes, products of American GPU producer NVIDIA's new work generative adversarial networks, GANs. GANs were introduced to the public in 2014 by a Google researcher. But when was the tech first developed? So I guess it's basically AI. It's computers making people. And so they're just digital. instead of having a soul and being a human. And of course, I don't know much about it because it's not something I look into a lot, but interesting to say nonetheless. The Ramsey family moved to Boulder from Atlanta in 1991, soon after John Ramsey's firm Access Graphics was acquired by Lockheed Martin. Access Graphics do exactly, and why move the entire business and family to Boulder when Lockheed already had a large footprint in Georgia? Question. I'll click it, but I think it goes there. Did you know in 2000, John and Patsy Ramsey told Larry King that they never received or even seen an official death certificate for their daughter? 3 years later, and no death certificate. Have you ever lost a loved one? A certified death certificate is essential. I waited for my dad's. I can't remember how long, but it was a while. And it's just something I wanted to be able to read and look completely over. So yes, it is a very important piece to losing someone. And it did not take 3 years or 3.5 years. Interesting, huh? At least a year. 6 months to a year, I think. We'll click here. Okay. The police have not talked to us at all. We don't know what's been done. I'm guessing the father is speaking there. And then King says, well, they have questioned you, right? They have questioned us extensively, but they haven't told you anything about, and then you have not seen the death certificate? They both said no. Guys, that's fucked up. You don't know how your daughter died? Well, we do. We do. From what? She was strangled. If you've lost a loved one, a child, a family member that you're close to, death certificate is imperative to giving yourself some closure, I promise. Okay? Interesting. They both have not seen this. Maybe now they say they do. Or they had. But they hadn't at the time. And that was 3.5 years after her death. Okay, here's the full transcript from Larry King's show. It's fascinating and worth close inspection. I'll be referring to it again. And again, you can come to her Twitter and look at it yourself, okay? Quick recap. First, there is no record of JBR's body being admitted to the Boulder County Coroner's Office thanks to stolen pages from the morgue logbook. Random. Second, the Ramseys never saw or received any official certificate of death. Random. And weird. Now think for a moment. I get chills. In the 23 years since the death of JonBenét Ramsey, have you ever heard either of these details? I had not. Most likely not. Yet this is not speculation. It is absolute fact. The previous thread, though intriguing and seemingly well-searched, was 100% speculation. If you are new, here is the original thread. I think this is the one that I clicked on and I couldn't read it. Let's try. I say that and then it'll open. Yeah, oops, we can't access this thread. And so I had said to her, well, I can't find that thread. Needless to say, I kept going. Please read with caution and with open eyes. It represents the narrative we have been programmed to uncover, programmed to believe, and laid to entrap and enslave our collective conscious. I'll click it, but I think it takes us right here. She was so beautiful. Okay. As I lay in bed, staring into the morning darkness, I couldn't help but remember what a spark plug JonBenét always was to our family. John Ramsey, the death of innocence. She was a spark plug. She was the energy in our family. John Ramsey, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. She gives a definition of a spark plug. I'm not reading it. In an interview with Denver 9 News, John Ramsey stated JonBenét's death had been a near mortal wound. Near mortal? Interesting. Again, with the spark plug reference, she was a spark plug in our family, and the loss of the presence was just crushing. Okay, so this article is found in the Denver Post. And as you look through it, if you come here and look, some of her pictures, she just, I guess she, ages, but there's something different in the pictures. Moving on, because I want to go over this. Okay, first, you'll need to accept that everything you thought you knew about the death of JonBenét Ramsey was based on a carefully constructed, expertly executed illusion, for lack of a more elegant term, a hoax. Perhaps the most famous hoax of our lifetime. Again, I'm open-minded, but I don't know if I am open enough to see it as that yet or ever. We're going to move on. Click on it, but I think it goes here. Yep. Okay. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. This is the first photo of JonBenét released to the public. An avalanche of striking, engrossing photos and videos of a little girl in pageant queen regalia would follow. But this was the first. It was also the first digitally generated face we'd ever seen. JonBenét was a test. It wasn't perfect, but it was good enough to cast the spell. America and the world would be transfixed for decades. Years later, as the tech advanced, an attempt was made to fix some of the imperfection incongruities these types of simulated facial images are known for. Okay, fair enough. I mean, just like this one, it looks different, like her nose, her eyes. I don't know. Anyways, here's a side-by-side. If you're thinking, well, that's just a different photo, you're correct, okay? It's a completely different image, JonBenét 2.0. The changes are subtle but sophisticated. And there are changes. I see them. As do you, I'm sure. How does the technology work? It's complicated, highly advanced computing that I cannot begin to adequately explain. But if you're curious about the origins, capabilities, and advance in generative adversarial networks, I recommend this resource. It doesn't really fascinate me enough to follow it at this point. I encourage everyone to visit this website. It's the same thing that kind of goes along with this. Visit, then refresh, keep refreshing. Every single photo on the site was created using that really hard word to say. GAN's a hyper-sophisticated form of artificial intelligence. And she's saying this person does not exist. Yes. I missed thread 1 too, but the Band-Aid rip had to be quick. Every detail in the thread was straight out of the public playbook. The nebula of dark, rich coded information that saturated our collective conscious, whether we realize it or not, a smokescreen fiction. It's just a People magazine of JonBenét. Every gruesome detail flung out onto the public by the media like a vat of boiling hot grease, swift, horrendous, never to fully heal. Okay, so again, if you want to read more into this, you can follow her on Twitter, Human Vibration, and read about it, okay? But let's look at this, because she has it underlined. The reluctance would be now understandable. Certainly no surprise. Could have been more terrible than the one that confronted John and Patricia Ramsey on the day after Christmas when their 6-year-old daughter, JonBenét, a lovely child who had won the local Little Miss Christmas beauty pageant, was discovered dead in the basement of their home with duct tape over her mouth and a cord twisted around her neck. This is an interesting quote from Human Vibration. If she came up with it herself, I mean, applause. A small Santa in a red and green sleigh sits under a giant evergreen tree by the driveway. Stripped candy canes line the path to the front door. More ominously, the entire property is bordered by bright yellow crime scene tape, like a package no one wanted to open. So sucker punch. I guess maybe that's the person who said it, but I mean, look, it's like a present wrapped. I don't know. I just was like, whoa. Recall the Larry King live interview we just went over on CNN, where John and Patsy revealed they'd never once seen or requested their daughter's death certificate in 3 years since JonBenét's death. 6s and 3s. Interesting. They also said there was no yellow crime scene tape around their home. What? Well, here it is. If they'd lie about something so little like this, what else would they lie about, right? Let's look at him talking here. I mean, they looked down in the basement, looked everywhere you're supposed to look. Did they put that yellow thing they put around the house with the crime scene? Her father says, no. King says, never did. What are you going through at this point? P. Ramsey. Agony. J. Ramsey. Pure agony. And then her mom says, sheer, horrified terror. Again, yellow thing they put around the house with the crime scene? No. Interesting, we just saw that. But there's their house with the yellow tape. Naturally, you think they must have just misspoken, right? Or miscalled, right? How could John and Patsy Ramsey be expected to recall such minute, insignificant details as to certificates and yellow tape, where their precious angel was murdered by a pedophilia pedodicial, I can't pronounce that word, a pedomaniac? For heaven's sakes. Because those kind of images never leave your head. And if she was murdered, you bet your ass there was yellow tape around that home. That's how they remember. Moving on. Introducing the big lie. A deception so colossal, if the public were to wake from under its spell, it could disrupt the entire social order. A lie so big, so complex, no one would ever think to question. Hitler supposedly coined the phrase. Doesn't mean the concept isn't true. Okay, a big lie is a propaganda technique and a logical trick, fallacy. The expression was coined by Adolf Hitler when he dictated his 1925 book Mein Kampf about the use of a lie so colossal that no one would believe that someone could have the impetus to distort the truth so infamously. Hitler believed the technique was used by Jews to blame Germany's. Look on Wikipedia if you want to know the rest of that, because I myself might go look at that because I want to read it. Let's start again with the pageants, shall we? This is what really hits home for me, because my niece has been in multiple pageants. My sister's all into that. She hasn't been in one for a year or 2 years, but has been up until, I think, 9. Could be off on a year on that. Did pageants. Potentially the most salacious, provocative, divisive elements of the entire case was Patsy Ramsey, former beauty queen from West Virginia, pushing JonBenét into the murky, high-sexualized, exploitative world of child pageantry. Let's look at the pic. Boom, boom. Trying to X out of it, sorry. Okay. Here's a comprehensive list of pageant titles JonBenét Ramsey, infamous child beauty queen, is purported to have won. Oh boy. Okay. America's Royal Miss, Little Miss Charlesboy, Little Miss Colorado, Colorado State All-Star Kids Cover Girl, National Tiny Miss Beauty. An impressive list, prolific, and it's complete bullshit, she says. I'm like, what? In all my years, all my researches, I never questioned the pageants. Did you? I didn't. Why would I? The pageants were akin to oxygen for the story, abundant, unending, necessary. But were they real? They sure felt real, sure looked real. The hair, the makeup, the sequins, the crowns, fake? Even the 1997 People magazine cover about the case referred to Ramsey as a pageant princess. What happens when we pull back the veil and look just beyond the curtains of taffeta, blurring our vision? Just what exactly is National Tiny Miss Beauty? I clicked on it. I'm just like, okay, nothing draws out to me. Okay, it's a pageant, and the kiddos go, okay. This is the first pageant I looked into. Ever. I never ever thought to search the actual pageants. Did you? I didn't. From the Tiny Miss homepage, beauty pageants for young ladies 6 months through 19 years of age. Okay, so we'll look beauty pageants, young ladies 6 months through 19 years. She says, age is day of the pageant. Beauty pageants for young ladies 6 months through 19 years. Age is day of the pageant. I know it has an important meaning, but I don't understand the tie together. Like, age is day. Age is day of what? Of the pageant? So, it just confuses me. I know it has meaning. Copyright 1997. Okay, this gets fucked up. Didn't JonBenét Ramsey die in 96? And when I first started reading this, I really couldn't have told you. I get chills saying that. That's very curious, isn't it? Also, it's not an actual pageant. No title can be won because it's not an actual pageant. Just a pageant preparation, a dress rehearsal. No pressure. Or was it something else altogether? We are not a pro-am pageant. We prepare young ladies to compete in Miss America and Miss USA type pageants. What? Beauty. It's a title she won, okay? We are not a pro-am pageant. We prepare young ladies. So, it doesn't make sense how she won something that they don't... It's not an actual pageant, There's no title that goes along with it. So how did JonBenét get a title from this? Weird. Let's look at another title of JonBenét's. At least Tiny Miss has a website. Let's look at another title of JonBenét's. At least Tiny Miss has a website. How about Little Miss Colorado? Sounds legit enough, right? Legitimate. I know she says, but I say legit. Little Miss Colorado is a Christian-based pageant system. We are not looking for an adult in a child's body. She says, excuse me, what? Says it here. Little Miss Colorado is a Christian-based pageant. We're not looking for an adult in a child's body. We want children to represent our titles that understand that true beauty comes from inside. In return, your child will make new friends, gain confidence, make enduring memories, and lessons that will last a lifetime. We feel that pageants should help children reach their goals, dreams, and achieve their personal best. I mean, pageants are what? Beauty. I digress on that. Here's a site for Little Miss Colorado, which is also creepy, like a menu or an offering of some sort. And you look closely, all of the children featured look a little off in the same way JonBenét looked. Observe too closely. We'll just look at this one picture, and if you're interested and want to follow more about it, you can. I mean, to me, the picture is blurry. But other than that, I mean, I guess some people may say those look like devil horns. I don't know. Other than that, I don't see much more into it. Others can, others will, and others do. I just don't. And this one, especially from the Tiny Miss website, the whole image is a bad composite, but the poorly photoshopped baby feels like a crude, bizarre addition. Again, I just am not open enough to understand that this looks photoshopped and messed with. I don't see it. It's not wrong. I just don't see it. But things really take a turn for what the fuck when you search Colorado State All-Star Kids Cover Girl. Another one of JonBenét's purported title wins. Doesn't exist. Not in any form outside of the JonBenét Ramsey murder case. No other past winners, contestants, or even pageants. We are now in uncharted territory. Nice one, look at the pic. Right, will there ever be an arrest? Look at the price of a magazine back then. Is that $12 or $2? I thought it was $2, it's probably $12. And last but certainly not least, JonBenét's first pageant title, crowned in the summer of '95 in the rural lakeside community of Charlevoix, Michigan. A tiny bejeweled tiara sits askew atop JonBenét's mob of blonde hair. She'd be the first, last, and only Little Miss Charlevoix. So let's click on this and see what we got going on. She looks like a different kid there to me. But again, kids grow. My daughter looks way different now compared to when she was younger, but I digress. Maybe not. Okay, and I'm pronouncing this wrong, so I apologize. The Charlevoix property, perched on a bluff overlooking Round Lake and just minutes from the Lake Michigan shoreline, became the Ramseys' favored summer vacation spot. JonBenét even won one of her beauty crowns in Michigan, taking Little Miss Charlevoix honors in the summer of '95. The Ramseys had planned to fly to Charlevoix the morning of December 26, 1996. Instead, they told police they awoke to find that JonBenét, 6 years old, was missing. Her body, beaten and strangled, was found by her father in the family's basement that afternoon. The child's death is the subject of an ongoing Boulder County grand jury investigation. So she did die in '96, guys. A lot of errors or coincidences. Do you find it odd that a Google search of Little Miss Charlevoix generates 1,850 results, all of which are in direct reference to JonBenét Ramsey? A smattering of articles that either A, reference her horrendous unsolved murder, or B, reinforce her excellence in pageantry. Okay, so this is what I was trying to find that I thought was interesting that she found. It was copyrighted in '97. And remember, she died in '96. So, did the business, this pretend business, not start till '97? I don't know. Strange indeed. So, again, for the record, according to CNN, the 6-year-old took home first place for the Little Miss Colorado, Little Miss Charlevoix, Colorado State All-Star Kids, Cover Girl, American Royal Miss, National Tiny Miss Beauty, and the local Miss Christmas Beauty Pageant. Where did she? The Strange World of JonBenét Newsweek, 1/1997. In all the miles of film that were lavished on JonBenét, it is hard to find one frame that captures her soul. The rest of us can only stare at her beautiful face and wonder what she may have become. So the article is there if you want to read it. I did read it on my own, but there wasn't anything in it that I necessarily want to bring to your attention, but Human Vibration found something, so we'll listen to her. But look at her eyes. Do you get any feelings from it, really? I don't. I can't feel if she feels loved, if she feels unloved, if she's had abuse happen. There's nothing that ticks there. That's just my own perception. From the same article, we're not looking for the little girl who is all made up in a frilly dress, said Dolly Abbey of Traverse City, Michigan, who is executive director of the Little Miss Charlevoix pageant when JonBenét won in 1995. Dolly, like her pageant, has a ghost footprint. Well, we know I like the word ghosts. Or ghost. Let's look here. Does cultivating a talent for immobility seem like an odd pastime for a 6-year-old? The adults involved in the world of child pageants are aware of how easily they can be made to look ridiculous by elite journalists who own kids, are busy in Montessori playgroups, and they readily concede that some little girls might get carried away into a distasteful parody of adult sexuality, although all the people interviewed by Newsweek insisted that they would never be party to any such travesty of a pageantry's high ideals. We're not looking for the little girl who is all made up in a frilly dress, said Dolly Abbey of Traverse City, Michigan, beating out a field of 2 other 4-year-olds. We're looking for what's inside the person, not for beauty. We shy away completely from the other kind of pageant. We try to take the good we saw in the world's pageants and eliminate the bad, said Wayne Dolan, who, with his wife, Susie, runs Denver's Royal Miss competitions. Our pageant system promotes self-confidence and self-esteem. Okay. I've seen kids win in $60 dresses, and I've seen kids win in $600 dresses. Interesting. Oh, let's click here where I clicked. I don't want to reread something I already read. Okay. Dolly Abbey, executive director of the first pageant JonBenét would ever win, must have been so traumatized by JBR's death that she left the world of child pageantry, never to bestow another crown. In '97, she incorporated Abby Dolly, a child care service with a staff of 1. there it is. I wouldn't know how to read much more into that than exactly just that. Maybe it was too much and it traumatized her, and then she ended up having to burn daycare. And how could we ever forget America's Royal Miss? Another of JonBenét's supposed pageant victories, and in yet another digital dead end. The only hint of existence outside of JBR's bona fides comes from an article in the Denver Post, JonBenét Haunts Pageant. And I tried to read it, and I skimmed it, looking for, talking about ghosts or anything paranormal. I couldn't find it. It's probably there. I'm just impatient. But if you want to read that, you can, or the article. Okay, enough of the blinding lights of child pageantry. We covered the unfortunate theft of the morgue book. We covered the bizarre absence of the death certificate. Now it's time to cover the documentation of JonBenét's life. Let's begin with her birth certificate. Yeah? Okay, no results found. I mean, I guess I could have researched before I came to here with this, but are we supposed to be able to see anybody and everybody's birth certificates? If we are, then it's odd. But if we're not, then it's not odd. But I don't know. Okay, not to suggest that one can conjure the birth certificate of a person simply by Googling their name and words birth certificate together. I don't think it's that easy to look at someone's birth certificate. I could be wrong. This lady knows a lot more than I do. But isn't it interesting that in the 23 years since her horrific death, not one article, post, tweet, anything ever made mention of it? It doesn't even look like the mom, but it is her. She's just swollen. Well, then what about her schoolmates? Okay, here we go. Shirley JonBenét Ramsey, enigmatic child beauty queen, who had been described in every news outlet under the sun as a ball of energy and a spark plug, would have a beheave of close friends who would one day recount their memories of her, right? In this picture, she reminds me of Heather, and I can't remember Heather's last name, but from Poltergeist. But very cute. So cute. And like here, you look at her eyes, and I feel sadness when I see them. Run ragged. There's a difference in the eyes, guys. You really should look at them. Since the murder, JonBenét's classmates at High Peaks Elementary School have quietly gone on about their business of learning. Any recollection of the murder is done privately with the help of parents, teachers, said High Peaks principal Karen Daly. Teachers, meanwhile, didn't allow their emotions to overwhelm instruction. When you lose a child, a teacher of that child is clearly impacted on a very deep level, but our teachers handled it really professionally, Daly said. She dreaded this month's media onslaught. Sure, people are interested in the story, but it's inappropriate to keep throwing it in the faces of kids who have lost a friend. Daly said reporters will be discouraged from talking to classmates. JonBenét's teacher at High Peaks also declined to comment. I mean, this, again, was back when I was 18, but I would think talking would help. I don't know. Okay. You'd think in this day and age, where every Tom, Dick, and Harry has an absolute bloodlust for their 15-minute of fame, you'd think that someone would come forward to talk about their going to school with JBR, or at the very least sell their yearbook to the tabloids for a little cash. But then finally you find it. Someone who documented their experience with JBR from when they too were living an idyllic childhood in the upscale community of Boulder. And Isabel Kahn says, the weirdest kid I ever met. She's there, but she's not. Okay, so I'm going to read you this little quote, and then I'm going to do a part 2. And in the part 2, I'm going to go into more details about a young girl that went to a few birthday parties with JonBenét and explains JonBenét in a kid's eyes. And then show you some stuff that Human Vibration found on Patsy Ramsey. That could be a part 3, because that's strange in itself. So let's read this. Tag, you're it, I say to JonBenét. My hand reaches for her shoulder to tag it, but instead of the fleshy mound I expected from my limited experience with shoulders, I met with a surprising sensation. Rather than making contact with her, my hands sink down into a scratchy puff of red lace and taffeta, falling for what seems like forever before stopping short at a shoulder pad. For a second, I let it rest there, expecting the warm reaction of human touch to arrive, but when it doesn't, I recoil my hand. It's like there's nothing living under the blaze of scarlet pageant gown her parents have adorned her with. She's there, but she's not.